Now we're looking at 8.3 day 2. Okay, we are solving for a missing side, but I'm only got a side and an angle. Okay, and if you look at today's objective, we've got to use the sine, cosine, tangent ratios to determine side lengths and angle measures in a right triangle. Same one as yesterday. Yesterday we used Pythagorean theorem. We had two sides. Knowing it's a right angle, we can use Pythagorean theorem to find the third. We're going to use SOHCAHTOA today, sine, cosine, and tangent, to help us because they're ratios. We put an angle argument inside, and that'll return the same ratio as the side ratio we've been working on this last day and a half. It feels like forever, but it was just yesterday. So let's talk about this. And we're going to do it with something we could do without sine, cosine, and tangent, but I want you to make sure you recognize that it works, okay? And on this very first one is the 30, 60, 90 triangle, something we did on Friday, okay? But we're going to use the skills that we worked on yesterday. So standing on my 60-degree angle, I'm right here at angle A, okay? Right here over at A, maybe if it ever lets me circle it. X is adjacent to that angle, okay? And the 24 is my hypotenuse. Are you okay with that? So because of that, I'm going to set up a relationship using a trig function, okay? And it's me cosine of 60 is equal to x over 24. What I'm saying here is when I put a angle value into a sine, cosine, or tangent, it returns a ratio value. Well, that ratio value it returns in this case is the same as whatever x is divided by 24, okay? So we're going to use this idea that we have two ratios, cosine of 60 and x over 24, and we're going to set them equal and solve this proportion. That's all I'm doing, is what we did in chapter 7. So in this case, I'm just going to multiply by 24 on both sides. After I do that, I got 24 cosine of 60 equal x. This is what I put into my calculator, okay? This is my concern, and people freak out a little bit with this. So you make sure you have a calculator, and maybe perhaps I'll even bring up my calculator and make sure that we know what's going on. It goes a little slow, so waiting for it kind of is a stinker, but we'll get that going. So I've got people getting calculators, and a reminder, your calculator's got to be in degree mode. Check it. I have to check mine as well. The calculator has to be in degree mode. Check it. I have to check mine as well. And I'm slowly coming up. I'm almost up. Okay. So this is the calculator I'm bringing up. I'm going to have to arrange it. And we'll see what we can do. We'll see how responsive it will be on the board. So I'm saying that you're going to put 24 cosine of 60, right, into the calculator. So I'm going to go second quit. I'm going to get to my other screen. And I'm going to put in 24 times cosine of 60. Now, if it's in the wrong mode, it'll give me the wrong answer. It's in the wrong mode. I know that because I know the answer. Okay. Remember, it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay. So I've got to change my mode. I pop in there. I got to arrow down. I got to go over to the right and hit degree. Now, second quit. And there's a really handy thing with graphing calculators. I think it really was because somebody was in the wrong mode and it was a pain in the butt to switch back and forth. So you ready? You hit second, enter, and you recall the last thing you put in. Hit enter again. My answer should be 12. Did you all get 12? Okay, yeah.
How do you know you're going to use cosine?
How do I know? How did I know cosine was going to be the magic formula for this? Let's talk about that. When I'm looking at this, this is my adjacent side. This is my hypotenuse. Those are the only things I've got, and that's where a cosine came because it's ca, adjacent hypotenuse. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? We're doing all right, and we already know the answer was 12. By the way, from 30, 60, 90 triangle, stuff that we did on Friday, half of 24 is 12. We should have picked up on that, right? All right. You guys have B, and I'm going to slowly drag my feet. I want you to try it. Remember, if you don't try this, it makes it tough. We're on page 17. On page 17. Now, I've got W is opposite the 54. I have 17 is my hypotenuse. Opposite hypotenuse, that's going to be my sine. Sine of 54. Remember that sine of 54, that angle value, in with sine, delivers a ratio relationship that is exactly the same as W over 17. That's how this works. Now, I just solve for W by multiplying by 17 on both sides. Now, I expect this is the basic amount of work to see on tests and quizzes when you do them using sine, cosine, and tangent. If you're using, I want to know what the original relationship is and what you plugged into your calculator was. And people, why do you do that? Are you just kind of like just all controlling? No, it allows me to give you the most partial credit I can if you just have fat fingers, okay? Because if it's the right thing to put in your calculator, I'm going to give you benefit of the doubt that you just made that little mistake. If it's just the relationship and you haven't solved it yet, I don't know what you're going to do yet. Okay, there's a lot of choices there. So I'm looking for this value right here. I'm looking for that, okay, when I'm grading. And then I'm also looking for the correct answer when you pull that out off your calculator, if I can pull up my calculator again. And I got the sine of 54 times 17. So I've got 17 times the sine of 54. And it should come out with 13.75, okay? Are there any questions about how I'm entering it, how I'm deciding on doing things? Okay, if your calculator is not coming up with the same numbers mine is, check your mode. More than likely, that's it. Or start doing some finger exercises. One of the two. You're not hitting the right buttons. Okay, 13.75. Now, if I don't ever tell you what I want to round it to, I want you to round it to the penny. But if I do, then round it to what I tell you to. Okay, because it'll be in the directions. C, you guys got the setup. Go for it. Go for the setup. Oh, let's work always with this angle. Okay, so this is opposite. This is hypotenuse. Now, if you started here, this is adjacent. This is hypotenuse. But that's 36. Should be the same answer. Okay, but I'm concerned that if you're subtracting like that, you might make a mistake subtracting. And so everything will be off an errant number. And I want the fewest amount of possible mistakes to be involved in your answers. Okay?
So, like, where do you start here?
On this one, 28. So at 28, 10's opposite. X is hypotenuse. So opposite hypotenuse, I'm working with sine. Unfortunately, in this case, I have x in the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by x on both sides, just like I have been. Remember, to get rid of 24 over here in A, I multiplied by 24 on both sides. To get rid of 17 here in B, I multiplied by 17 on both sides. It should have been right there. Now, I'm just multiplying by x on both sides. I just am creating one more step for myself because I want x by itself. In order to get x by itself, I've got to divide by sine of 28. Sine of 28, keep in mind, is one lump number. It's a number. Okay, I can't separate the sine and the 28. Okay, once they're together, they are a value. Okay, and I have to deal with them together. So I divide by sine of 28 on both sides. And I get that solution to put in my calculator. I get 10 divided by sine of 28. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I put in 10 divided by sine of 28. And that's where my 21.3 comes from. Okay? Are there questions about how I'm getting there? Yeah?
I think I know this, but do you always use the like, where the angle is, you always use that, like,
I use that as my reference. I always go to the angle that they give me,
okay.
and then from that angle, the side opposite, the side adjacent, the side the hypotenuse side I can find, and based on what else they gave me in that situation, the formation from the angle is how I decide sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay? Does that help?
Yeah.
And there will be times I give you everything, and people freak out, and all I say is like, I want the sine of x. I just want you to give me the ratio. I gave you all the information, just give me the fraction that's the ratio that represents sine of x, cosine of x, or tangent of x. Okay? Now, the next thing. Let's see where we're going to go. Oh, next question. We've done 3 examples, and I know that's ain't enough. So let's turn to page 24. We're going to do problems 1 through 8 on page 24. Okay? So y'all right here. Okay? And it is in your best interest to use pencil, so you can try them. Okay? I cannot emphasize the importance of you doing before you see what's going on. Okay? So give it a try and see what we can get done. First, I have 72 degrees. I have to identify what 6 is that 72. That happens to be the adjacent side. So 6, let me get a little pointer here for the folks that are at home. 6 is my adjacent side. X is my hypotenuse. It's opposite the right angle. Okay? 72 is really driving this. It's telling me what to use because this is adjacent, this is hypotenuse. Well, I've got to use cosine. That has adjacent hypotenuse. So the angle value goes into the trig argument. Okay? Sine, cosine, tangent take angles in and shoot out ratios. Okay? That's what it does. Now, the ratio that comes out of the cosine of 72 is the same as the ratio of 6 divided by whatever x is, and we got to solve for that. So I'm going to divide by x, or multiply by x, I should say, and divide by cosine of 72 to get x by itself. So I'm at this point. And again, I take my calculator, I pop it in, I got 6 divided by cosine of 72. Okay, so I get 19.4. And I pop that in my answer. Okay, remember, most of this, I don't want to say most, I think 3/4 of this is setup. The other quarter is calculator interfacing. If you're a calculator and you aren't getting along, it's not a good test. And you practice. You should be practicing throughout. Every time we do a problem, if you're getting a number different than the one that's up, we got to talk. Because if you're doing it on your way on the test, I had news for you, it's wrong if we're not getting the same number. Or you have it in the wrong mode. And I will mark it that way. Okay, because I don't know what you're doing either most of the time. So make sure you're careful about that. Now, next one, 73. X is adjacent, 6 is hypotenuse. This is nicer because X is no longer on the bottom, and I have it here someplace. So I'm going to get this thing going on, and I'm multiplying by 6 on both sides. I pop that in my calculator, and I get 1.8. Now, it's a little different, so I want to make sure it's clear. 6 cosine of 73, right? So I've got myself a 6 times cosine of 73. Notice I didn't put multiply on the in between on this. Okay, when I don't, it just automatically assumes that I am. So it's 1.75, but I'm supposed to round to the 10th. That direction's at the very top of the sheet. Okay, that's why the 5 brings the 7 up to 8. And that's where we get 1.8. We doing okay? Now, please keep in mind, you have to set these up. And I want to talk to you about this. This is an easier way you're going to see these problems. Why? Because the problem is already there. The diagram's there. You just need to read it and decide which of the sine, cosine, tangents you're going to put into. In section 8.4, you read a story. And based on the story, you determine the diagram you're going to solve. So now you're doing it all from start to finish. You're making the diagram off the story, you're putting stuff in, you're determining sine, cosine, tangent, you're solving for x, you're getting it done, and then, because it's a word problem, you have a word answer. And then that's 8-4. Yeah, and 8-5, I do hard work problems. So if you don't get stuff up to there, we got to talk. And we should be talking every day if you're not getting something. So 24 degrees, that's where I'm starting. 24 degrees. X is opposite, 12 is adjacent. Opposite adjacent, sine. Excuse me, opposite adjacent, tangent, opposite of hypotenuse is sine. I'm just losing it today. Yeah, you can laugh. I just can't believe I'm tripping over myself. I was thinking that everything else is sine on this sheet, and I'm trying to figure out how I could change it without too much extra work. That's all. Are you okay with opposite and adjacent? And that should be tangent, not sine, and I apologize for that slip. We okay? All right. So I got that set. I'm going to multiply by 12 on both sides. So I got 12 tangent of 24. Pop that in my calculator. 12, 10, 24, enter. Ooh, 1 tan of 24. 12. There we go. Yeah, 10, 24. Okay, happy with that. 5.3, pop that in, see what we got. Okay, are you doing okay with what I'm getting? It's your turn. Go. Everybody's got to have it done before I move on. Good. Do the next one. If you're done with 4, go on to 5. You're done with 5, go on to 6. Get them done. Get them done. Because the questions we do on today's assignment are identical to the ones I'm having you go through right now. I'm just making sure that you can take things from short-term memory to long-term memory. It might make it easier. Okay, 37. X is opposite it, 12 is adjacent to it. I'm working with tangent. I've got X over 12. Are you okay that you got tangent, 12 tangent of 37? 12 is going to be times tangent of 37. In your calculator, I got to get this 7 done here. There we go. And then I've got it going on, 9.04. So it's just 9. And I'm popping in that with my calculator. You doing okay? Okay. You guys got 5. Go ahead, get it done. Keep working. The more you do on your own, the better this gets into your head. The easier tomorrow becomes, okay? The more you do on your own today, the easier tomorrow becomes. The more successful you are today, the easier tomorrow becomes to be just as successful, if not more successful. Yes, sir. What do you got?
For 5, let X be on bottom, 14 be on top.
Which one's opposite? Which one's adjacent?
That one's adjacent.
So opposite adjacent, so yeah, X would have to be on the bottom then. Okay. So in tangent 49, we're talking 49 here. I got to get another little pointer. Okay, so I got 49 is my angle. Opposite is 14, adjacent's X. So opposite adjacent can be tangent. So I'm going to start out with tangent of 49 equals 14 over X. Now I've got to solve this thing for X, and I've got 14 over tan of 49. Okay?
Okay, I skipped kind of the middle stuff there.
Eventually you'll figure that out. So yeah. Okay, and then I'm at 12.2. I'm going to take the calculator work that you're starting to get it. Are there any questions regarding? Okay, 6. Hopefully you're working ahead of me. 51, opposite is 14. Hypotenuse, X, opposite hypotenuse, sine. 51 equals 14X. I'm going to multiply both sides by X. And I'm going to divide. I got 14 sine of 51. I pop it in my calculator. I get 18. Last two. They both got to be done for me to show. Last two both have to be done for me to show. Remember, this is all about patterns. It's all about the position your sides are to the angle that's given. Okay? The adjacent side and the hypotenuse will make the angle. We are only working with the acute angles. So the adjacent side and the hypotenuse make the angle. Identify the one that's not the is the hypotenuse, and that one that's not the hypotenuse is the adjacent side. The side opposite the angle is neither the adjacent or hypotenuse. So when we're looking at problem 7, I've got this situation. This is adjacent, this is hypotenuse, this is opposite to 63. Well, I've got opposite hypotenuse. Hey, that's sine. Okay, so now I go for my solve, and I get that going. I got 16 divided by sine of 63. Okay, so I got that. It's in my calculator, and I got 18. Now remember, this is kind of funky because it's 17.9 because I'm supposed to round to the 10th. I round up, 9 rounding up to 0, so 7 goes to 8, and life is good. Okay. Last one, 18. 15 is opposite 16. 16, and then x is hypotenuse, so I've got to use sine again. That's why I was mumbling earlier to myself. I have way too many signs here. And by the way, guys, gals, it might be the lamest pickup line on the face of the planet. Dude, what's your sign? Okay, all right, I'm just telling you. It might start, I mean, if they think it's really quirky, it might work. I don't know, but I just can't say it has or hasn't. Okay, you ready? X sine, divide by sine of 15. 61.8, you doing? Yeah.
I got a different answer.
Ah, no, we got a different answer, so what we got? 6 to the square root of 6 divided by sine of 15. Oh, you went sine of 15, not sine of 16.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what I would call fat fingeritis.
Okay.
Okay, so just check it. Just make sure you're right. No, wait. We got 16 divided by sine of 15, right? Is that what you did? And you got a square root in there. Did your calculator just automatically set for that?
I guess the other ones I got decimals, so.
16 divided by sine. Well, why did you? We got to check your calculator and see what's going on. Yeah, that's something funky. Okay, that's something funky with your calculator. I apologize for that, but I Casio's, it might as well be on the backside of my head as far as being able to figure it out. Are there any questions on these 8? Okay. For those folks at home, we're done. You guys go ahead and print off the assignment and get to work. Folks here on campus, we're going to go through the assignments. Okay.